Isaiah chapter 11, and notice this promise of peace, starting in verse 6. The wolf will reside for a while with the lamb, and with the young goat the leopard will lie down, and the calf and the lion and the fattened animal will all be together, and a little boy will lead them. The cow and the bear will feed together, and their young will lie down together. The lion will eat straw like the bull. The nursing child will play over the lair of a cobra, and a weaned child will put his hand over the den of a poisonous snake. They will not cause any harm or any ruin in all my holy mountain, because the earth will certainly be filled with the knowledge of Jehovah as the waters cover the sea. What a beautiful promise of peace! Jews wouldn't need to fear wild animals or fierce men on their journey home or in their restored land. With these poetic words, Jehovah assured the exiles that they and their livestock would be safe. He would bless them with peace. And did you notice, according to verse 7, the lion would symbolically eat straw, illustrating that lions wouldn't kill the Jews' cattle. Faithful ones would have nothing to fear from animal or human predators. Please notice what Isaiah further wrote about this peace at Isaiah chapter 65. Please turn there with me, Isaiah 65. Now these are words similar to those we read earlier at Isaiah chapter 11. Isaiah 65, verse 25. The wolf and the lamb will feed together. The lion will eat straw just like the bull, and the serpent's food will be dust. They will do no harm, nor cause any ruin in all my holy mountain, says Jehovah. Skilled artists in the art department at World Headquarters beautifully illustrate such scenes, and the images can be found in our publications. But what Isaiah describes is no artist's rendition. This will be real. Think how you'll feel when you're not afraid of wild animals, and the animals aren't afraid of you.
We're watching governing body helper Leonard Myers giving the third part of the symposium, Take Delight in God's Promises of Peace. And his theme is The Wolf and the Lamb Will Feed Together, taken from Isaiah chapter 11. Now, I've already addressed this embarrassingly literalist interpretation of the restorationist texts in Isaiah and elsewhere in the Old Testament in the previous convention rebuttal after Stephen Lett said the following.
Today, we can't even imagine feeding a wolf and a lamb together. If we tried such, it would likely result in lamb chops for the wolf. But Jehovah's promise in Isaiah assures us that peace will exist between humans and animals between animals and other animals.
If I were Stephen Lett, if I were anyone on the governing body or among the governing body helpers, I would be trying to steer the organization's theology away from this absurd interpretation as quickly as possible. But because they've all been raised on it, and because it's embedded in their psyche from when they were children, they just can't let go of it. I found it interesting that Leonard Myers said,
Skilled artists in the art department at World Headquarters beautifully illustrate such scenes, and the images can be found in our publications. But what Isaiah describes is no artist's rendition. This will be real.
Now, there are any number of examples of this beautiful artwork that I could show you, but perhaps one of the most iconic is this one. You can see I've had it framed. Let's see if it focuses properly. It's the tract Life in a Peaceful New World. This tract began circulation in 1987, and this was the vision of the future paradise that I grew up with. If you ever wonder why I sometimes refer to a panda-strewn paradise, this is the reason why. Apparently, once the billions of unbelievers have all been buried, or their remains otherwise dispensed with, the pandas will start emerging from the forests and demand to be cuddled by children. Maybe you're wondering why I framed this particular tract. Well, it's because it's the only one of its kind that I happen to have in my collection. And the artwork is, as I've said, very familiar to Jehovah's Witnesses of a certain vintage. Now, there's something you may not have noticed in the background. Behind the frolicking pandas, there's actually a lioness with her cubs depicted within only a few feet of the children. It's interesting, isn't it, how they never show children in the paradise splashing around with sharks or snuggling up to crocodiles or playing with black widow spiders. It's always creatures that can conceivably be trained to be docile. Anyway, as it happens, I've been that close to a lion. In fact, I've been even closer, about a couple of centimetres from a full-grown lion. But that's because I was at a zoo, and the lion, which was actually baring its teeth at me, was behind heavy-duty plexiglass. Zagreb Zoo has a fantastic lion enclosure that allows you, and indeed your children, to get really close to a whole pride of lions, allowing you to see firsthand what muscle-bound killing machines they really are. And yet Stephen Lett and Leonard Myers believe that lions, wolves, snakes, and all manner of carnivorous predators will one day stop being carnivores and start eating vegetation, or in the case of snakes, dust.
The lion will eat straw just like the bull, and the serpent's food will be dust.
Just the mental image of a snake kind of slithering along and saying, what am I going to have for dinner today? Oh, I think I'll have dust. I shouldn't need to tell you, viewers, how breathtakingly stupid such an ultra-literalist interpretation of the Bible is. But that's the religion we're dealing with here. And what's perhaps most infuriating, apart from the fact that kids get raised with this outrageous claptrap, is how inconsistent they are when it comes to which verses can be taken literally and which are just metaphor. We've already heard in this talk Leonard Myers say that there was at least some spiritual interpretation to the verse about wolves and lambs feeding together.
With these poetic words, Jehovah assured the exiles that they and their livestock would be safe. He would bless them with peace.
Presumably, Leonard Myers will also view as poetic the promise that on their arrival in Canaan, the Israelites would find a land flowing with milk and honey, to quote Deuteronomy 3 verse 6. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe next week there'll be new light that Canaan once literally had milk and honey springs that will one day be uncovered by archaeologists. You have to ask, don't you, how can they be so arbitrary in which verses should be taken as literal and which should be taken as metaphor? For me, it's all a simple case of fantastic promises being made on the flimsiest of pretexts, just so the carrot on the end of the stick can be a little bit more juicy.